separating the components of a mixture. Till now we have discussed about various kinds of mixture such as homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures and different kinds of solutions. Now we will discuss about the various ways in which the solute and the solvent can be separated from each other. Some of the ways through which the separation occurs is the process of sublimation, process of evaporation, chromatography, and separation of immiscible and miscible liquids. We will discuss about each and every topic with the help of the diagrams. The first one is the separation of mixtures by sublimation. Under this method, take 1 tablespoon of common salt and 1 tablespoon of ammonium chloride and mix them together. Take the mixture in a china dish. You can find the china dish in the diagram. Take a glass funnel which is big enough to cover the dish. So glass funnel is the, you can find the conical shaped thing which is a glass funnel, and it should be big enough to cover the dish, and cover the mouth of the glass funnel with a cotton and invert the funnel and keep it over the dish. And remember that there should not be much of the space, gaps in between the dish and the funnel. And now keep the china dish on the stand of stove and heat for some time. You will generally find vapors of ammonium chloride, and after some time the ammonium chloride will solidify, and you can observe this on the walls of the funnel. So in this way the salt is being left out in the china dish, whereas the ammonia chloride will be solidified on the walls of the funnel. So this method is known as sublimation method. The second method in the process of separation can be evaporation. We can use evaporation as a process of separation of solute and solvent. For example, in an ink, normal blue ink, the solvent is the water and solute is the dye. Dye is the color. So we can separate the solvent from the solute by the method of evaporation. To do this activity, we need to keep a beaker filled with water on a stove, and above the beaker you should keep a watch glass, say dish kind of a thing, and put a few drops of ink in it. Heat the beaker for a certain amount of time, and in some time the water will be evaporated, and the left out matter would be the dye, that is the ink. You can find the ink, that is the dye, which is being separated from the water through the process of evaporation. In the previous image we have observed that dye, that is the ink which is the solute, is being separated from the water through the process of evaporation. But in case if the ink is made up of different colors, for example, certain colors are the mixture of few other colors. For example, brown is a mixture of red, yellow and black. So the combination of colors make certain dyes. So if you want to know exactly what color it is made up of, the ink is made up of, and in order to separate each color, the process of chromatography is being used. Please look at the diagram. In order to do this process, certain steps need to be followed. take a beaker, fill it with water, and take a pencil so as to keep it above the beaker in such a way that a strip of paper is being attached to the pencil and there is a line drawn on the strip of paper. Usually above that line, should make a line with the pencil. Usually above that line you can keep a particular ink color. For example, you can keep a dot of brown ink color. So after certain times, the chromatography process, through the process of chromatography, you can find the various kinds of inks in the dot which you have kept. I'll show you how it occurs with the help of some other diagrams. We are continuing with the topic chromatography. As we have discussed with respect to the previous image, we have took a beaker along with the pencil on the top of it and a piece of paper attached to the pencil, and at the below end of the paper a line is being drawn. So we are just looking at the line part of the paper, and on the line which is made up of pencil we have kept 3 dots of 3 different colors of sketch. One is a brown color, green color and red color. So we need to pour some water in the beaker in such a way that these colors should be above the water level. So the line should not be in the water, it should be above the water level. And we should observe the result after certain amount of time. So when say after 30 to 40 minutes, the paper, the below part of the paper which was in the water, which was in the beaker, right? So the paper is in the beaker and the water level is such that it is below the line, but certain amount of paper is in the water, right? This paper would be absorbing water continuously from the beaker. So what happens with the result after certain amount of time? I'll show you the image of the result. Look at the chromatography result of the 3 colors. One is the green, brown and red color. We have kept 3 colors, right? So the chromatography result of the brown color is, first layer, it's been formed in layers, right? First layer is the black one, second is the red and the third one is the yellowish color. With respect to the green color, first layer is dark green in color, second layer is light green and the third layer is yellow color. And with respect to the red color, the first layer is red color and the second layer is a little orangish color. Hello friends, we will now deal with miscible and immiscible liquids. So what are miscible and immiscible liquids? In the diagram you can find that with respect to the first one, a glass is having water and oil in it, and in the second situation a beaker wherein water and ethanol has been mixed together. So the first one where oil and water is been present, if oil and water is kept undisturbed for a certain amount of time, it will form into layers. The top layer is the oil and the bottom layer is the water, and this is an example of immiscible liquids, wherein you can be easily be able to separate oil from water without much effort. But with respect to the miscible liquid, which is ethanol and water, the both have been mixed well together and the separation process is not as easy as immiscible liquids. Ethanol and water is an example of miscible liquids. In this image you can find a separating funnel which is used in the separation of immiscible liquids. In this method, take a mixture of kerosene or castor oil and add it to water and let it be kept undisturbed for a certain time so that a separate layer of oil and water are formed. Generally, water would be the below layer and above it would be the oil. You can even find a stopcock in the image. Open the stopcock of the separating funnel and pour out the lower layer of water carefully. Close the stopcock of the funnel as oil reaches the stopcock. So you have understood that in this method generally we will pour out the water which is below and we will close the stopcock once it reaches the oil. Hello friends, in the image you can find the diesel on the water. Generally when it rains you can find a layer of diesel on the water. Diesel is immiscible in water. These can be seen as a bright rainbow patterns when the diesel falls from the vehicles on the road. We will now deal with separation of two miscible liquids by the way of distillation. But before getting into the topic, I hope you remember about homogeneous solutions. What are homogeneous solutions? It is the ones in which the solute is completely dissolved in the solvent, that is the water and salt, wherein the salt is completely dissolved in the water. And when you keep the homogeneous solution undisturbed for a certain amount of time, the solute doesn't get settled down to the bottom, and the solute which is present in the solvent is not visible to the naked eye. So this is homogeneous solution. Some other examples of homogeneous solutions are water mixed with ethanol, or else acetone mixed with water. So we will do an activity experiment which deals with separation of two miscible liquids by distillation. So this is the apparatus which is being kept. Under this there is a distillation flask which is being kept on a stove, and the distillation flask has a thermometer to it, inserted thermometer at the top of it. Have a close observation of the diagram, and this flask is being connected to a condenser, water condenser, and there is a separate channel from the condenser to a beaker. So when the distillation flask is provided by heat, the mixture will slowly get heated, and you can even look at the thermometer with respect to the temperature. First the acetone get vaporizes and condenses in the condenser. So the acetone liquid will be condensed into the condenser. Vaporizes means it starts to form vapors. The solution is water and acetone, right? So first the acetone will vaporize and it will be getting collected in the condenser, and from there it would be collected to the beaker. The separation technique which has been used in this method is called distillation. Distillation can be used only when the boiling points of the two liquids are different and have a huge difference among them. For example, in simple words I will explain you. The boiling point of the water is 100 degrees Celsius, whereas the boiling point of acetone is very less compared to the water. There would be a difference of around 30 degrees among it. At least 30 degrees the difference would be. So in such a case, when we provide the heat, you have studied with respect to the boiling points of different substances would be different, right? So the boiling point of water is 100. So water, only if it reaches 100 degrees of temperature, it will form into vapor. So it will start vaporizing only if it reach 100 degrees Celsius. But certain things boil at a faster rate and it requires less amount of temperature. So certain liquids, acetone, would require less amount of temperature to boil. So when it reaches, the solution reaches at around 65 degrees Celsius, the acetone would be turning into vapor and it would be collected into the condenser. Whereas the water, still it has not reached the boiling point, so it doesn't turn into vapor. So it would be left out in the distillation flask. With the previous image, you have studied the separation of miscible liquids with the help of distillation, wherein the acetone and water has been kept in a distillation flask. So under that method, you have studied that the boiling point of acetone is around 60 degrees Celsius, whereas the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. So the acetone gets boiled, so the acetone reaches to a boiling point faster, right? So it got vaporized and it was separated in a separate beaker. So this was the first thing. But what happens if the boiling points of the two liquids are close to each other? For example, if the boiling point of water and some other product are so close that it has a difference of less than 25 degrees Celsius. In such a case, the separation of liquids with the help of distillation can't be done. In this case, fractional distillation would be used. When the two liquids boiling points are less than 25 degrees. For example, if the water boiling point, as you know that it is 100 degrees Celsius, and any other liquid whose boiling point is 80 degrees Celsius, so the difference is just 20 degrees, right? So in this case, we can't use the previous method, which was through the process of distillation. So in this case, we will use fractional distillation. Normal distillation can't be used in such a case. To do this method of fractional distillation, so under the method of fractional distillation, generally the apparatus is similar to that of simple distillation. You can look at the apparatus. It is similar to simple distillation, but there is just one change. A simple fractional column in the tube is being kept. You can find that above the distillation flask there is a fractional column. This is the part which is being used in the fractional distillation method, and the thermometer is being inserted in the fractional column, and the fractional column contains a tube packed with glass beads in it. The beads provide maximum possible surface area for the vapors to cool and condense repeatedly. If the boiling point of two liquids have a gap of just 25 degrees Celsius, for example, I have already told you how it works out. So fractional distillation is used along with the water. If the water boiling point is, you know that it is 100 degrees Celsius, and if a liquid whose boiling point is above 75 degrees Celsius, in that case, as the gap is just 25 degrees Celsius, we will be using the fractional distillation. And after that, the condensed liquid would be collected into the beaker, and the left out liquid in the distillation flask would be the water. If we want to separate the components of the air, We know that air comprises of different gases such as nitrogen, oxygen, argon and carbon dioxide. And if we want to separate different components of air, then the method which is being provided in this image can be used. There are different kinds of setups have to be used in order to separate the air into different components. For example, if you want oxygen gas from air, we have to separate out all the other gases present in the air. You can look at the image. The first chamber is wherein the air is being compressed. So, in the first chamber, the air is being compressed, and in the second chamber, it is being sent to the second chamber wherein the air is being freezed to such an extent, but to such an extent that it would turn into a liquid air. In the first chamber, it is being compressed, and in the second chamber, it is being freezed. Cold water with the help of the channels would be provided to the second chamber so that this air would cool down and become into a liquid air. And in the third one, you can find the liquid air, third chamber, and in the fourth chamber, which is a fractional distillation column, in the fourth chamber, wherein the liquid air is being collected, is allowed to warm up so that different gases would be separated depending upon their boiling points. Generally, the liquid oxygen would be left out at the end in the final chamber, and the other gases would be separated by the process of fractional distillation. Compounds are generally separate from the mixtures. Generally, compounds are formed when two elements combine with each other. The smallest unit of a compound is molecule. Common example of a compound is when sodium is being mixed with chlorine, it forms into a compound which is known as NaCl, which is the common salt. So, common salt is not a mixture, it is a compound which is a new product being formed after the combination of sodium and chlorine. Look at the image. These are some of the basic differences between mixtures and compounds. The elements or compounds in a mixture are generally mixed together to form a mixture, and they doesn't form new compounds. Whereas in case of compounds, elements react to form new compounds. You have observed this with respect to sodium and chlorine were being mixed together to form common salt. A mixture has a variable composition, whereas the composition of a compound is always fixed. The constituents can be separated fairly easily by physical methods. By the process of filtration or other process, a mixture components can be separated, right? So, but with respect to the compounds, the components can be separated only by chemical and electrochemical reactions. You need to do certain kinds of reactions to separate the compounds.